Welcome to the Travelman Podcast. I'm your host, Ben, and if you're joining me for the first time, then I say hello and thanks for listening. If you're a returning listener, then I say thanks for returning. Today's episode is a continuation of my chat with Cristina Zenato, who's a professional diver, shark whisperer, and the founder of People of the Water. In the first part of this episode, we spoke about removing hooks from sharks' mouths and cave diving. So if you haven't heard part one, then please go back and listen to that before you listen to this, which is part two. So if you've done that, then sit back and enjoy the podcast. Okay, this might sound silly to you, but I'm just trying to figure out, when you say inflate and deflate, that's not the device that you breathe through, or is it?
No, I do apologize. That's
no,
right.
That's okay.
It's called buoyancy compensator device, BCD.
Okay.
And in recreational form, it's like a stab jacket, like a little jacket.
Oh, okay.
And in the technical world, you can find it either in a form of harness, when you mount your tanks on your back. And if you're like in a side mount, it usually makes you look a little bit of a, what would be like the animal, like a little pangolini.
Oh, okay.
Right? You have this little triangle on your back and it's just like wrapped around your body. It makes you look a little bit like a little pangolini. And that is a side mount harness. So you will not see a diver like my pictures. If you look, I don't have the tanks on my back. They're on my side. It's called side mount.
Yeah, I've seen some of the videos of you cave diving with those two big cylinders either side, and they're obviously, Are they the air for you to breathe?
Yes, that is the gas that I'm breathing.
That's
not necessarily air. Yes, could be a mixed gas with more oxygen in it, or helium, depending if I'm shallow or deep. And but those are my two cylinders. Yes.
Oh, it's so cool. And do you remember the most dangerous or challenging dive that you've done?
Well, I've had quite a few. I don't know if I would say dangerous. I mean, for someone who doesn't cave dive, they could think that every time I go cave diving is dangerous. And technically it is, but we're so trained, right? Mind, physically, gear. I don't perceive cave diving like that. I'm risking. It's not a red flag every time I go cave diving. So I've had challenging situations for sure. I guess some of the most challenging ones have been, for me personally, is during exploration. Because during exploration, you don't know what's around the next bend. So sometimes you need to decide if you want to commit or not. And you try to see, let's say I'm going to go through something small. I need to make sure that on the other side, I can actually turn around or back out, which is not always easy. And so I've had situations in which after evaluating, I commit. But then I commit and it's like, oh, wow, it's smaller than what I thought it would be. And so then I have to districate myself out of the situation. But the first thing I do is stop, breathe, think. Okay, how are you going to get out of this one? So there's a video that I posted quite recently on YouTube, and I think it's called Commitment. And I was exploring Ocean Blue Hole, and it had all the signs that it was a tunnel, but it was through a small restriction. And I committed I looked at it for 5-6 minutes. I'm like, there's enough room. And when I twisted my body, head down, through the restriction, I landed into this area. It actually was so small that my head was jammed against the rocks. And there was no room for me to turn, nothing. And I already just come through the restriction. So I basically had to sit there. And I was just kind of like, and now what? And so what I had to do is slowly remove the loop of my rebreather, put the regulator in, take one of the tanks off, move it, like swing it over me, like almost up to over my head, and then go back on my rebreather and then twist myself out of like a corkscrew out of the restriction, pushing the tank ahead of me.
Wow.
Right. And I just tossed the tank out of the hole, and then I literally on tiptoes pushed myself out of the hole. But I sat there for 3 or 4 minutes trying to figure it out the best way to do it. rather than struggling. If I would have struggled, I would have tangled myself and I would have obliterated my visibility, and I would have obviously changed also all the patterns inside my body. So are those challenging moments? Absolutely. Am I prepared for it? I hope so. I'd like to do things in progression. I do believe in small steps. I do believe in repetition. I do believe in not doing everything new. So every time I add something to my skills or to my gear or something that, I want to do, I do one step back. I practice at that step and then I move forward. I'll give you an example. I acquired a camera. I wanted to take pictures and videos of these caves and what I see, and I want to bring it up. I didn't want to be dependent on anyone. But, managing a camera in a cave with a rebreather, I didn't just go into the back of the cave. No. So first, I took the camera in the pool with my little single tank. Then I went out in the open ocean with the camera and my little single tank. Then I went in the cavern with the camera and my cave gear. The cavern is the first room where you can see still daylight. What I'm trying to say is I first learned how to use the camera in the pool. Then I started using the camera out in the ocean to manage my buoyancy, the camera, and everything else. Then I took it in the overhead environment where I could come out within 30 seconds because I'm in the big room right at the entrance. When then I was comfortable with my camera, my rebreather in a cave, then I started taking it into the places I wanted to take it. So now I can take the camera 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 feet inside a cave. I don't care.
Wow.
Because I took those steps to build up. And this is someone that had already 25 years cave diving experience and already 3 years rebreather experience. But the moment I added the camera, I went 3 steps back. And I was like, okay, camera, open ocean, single tank, off we go.
You got to start somewhere, I guess. But,
Correct.
With the cave diving, do you have to practice getting stuck, if that makes any sense? Like being in a situation that... No?
So there is an agency that is teaching, that is doing, I think, practical entanglement, real entanglement, right?
Yeah.
Can't remember if they're doing getting stuck. No, because getting stuck is part of exploration, not of cave diving. There's a huge difference between cave exploring and cave diving. A cave diver, those that come out of my course, are invited to swim the caves of the world that have lines in it, or if people have already been in and are verified, and there's markings that say, okay, this is a cave, this is the lines.
They're marked.
The caves are, we leave down breadcrumbs. It's called Ariane's line.
Okay.
We leave lines, right? And so there's also caves in which you say, well, if you go in this cave, you need to be a side mount cave diver. And if you go in this cave, you need to be a no mount cave diver. So if you're a brand new cave diver with only 12 dives under your belt and somebody says that is a no mount cave, it's not a cave for you. The getting stuck is something that happens sometimes at the level I'm at, which is, like I said, exploration. So nobody's ever been there before.
Okay.
Nobody's ever seen beyond that turn. Nobody's ever even seen beyond that tunnel. So like I said, it's a commitment. It's an evaluation. We try not to get stuck. It's in our best interest not to get stuck. And so you're like, well, how do you practice that? Well, it comes from all the mindset, right? And it goes in the small steps. I learned to be a cave diver, swam every line. Then after I start swimming the lines, I start maybe understanding where maybe another tunnel could be. So when you first start exploring and you're going with your line, you don't go into the smallest hole that you see. As an explorer, you're like very cautious. You're like, okay, feels like a comfortable tunnel. And you go down that tunnel. You might find even huge rooms. It doesn't matter. Some caves are huge. But before you say, okay, I'm going to go through this smallest area, maybe you've already been explorer for quite a few years. So now you know how your gear feels, right? Perception, depth perception, width perception, height perception. And then you can look at something that's like, yeah, I can make it through there. Maybe you have to grind a little bit or scrape a little bit. But it's all based on this continuous evaluation and this stepping stone that you build into your career. And that is what I try to recommend divers is do not just collect cards and go 0 to here and check mark, check mark. You want to take a certification. A certification is a license to go and really master what you just learned in the basic terms. When you get your driver's license, you're not qualified to go and drive a Formula One in Parma. You're not.
No.
You cannot drive the Ferrari in a race in Parma. The driver's license that they give you tells you, hey, now you know the rules of the road. Please be careful. Start driving on the regular roads. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then one day you're like, wow, I really like, I feel comfortable. And then you move into becoming an outdoor or like a Ferrari driver or whatever races that are out there. Rallies and things like that. But I don't think that a rally driver started, it's like, oh, driver's license, I'm going to go rallying up the mountains of Italy. It's like, yeah, I don't think so. So it's the same concept with cave diving, right? So unfortunately, it is a little bit of an issue because we give out a little bit of mixed messages, but unfortunately, this is what I do. But it's not that a cave diver, it will become stuck. A cave diver will follow lines down marked tunnels that have been dived hundreds of times, if not thousands of times before. And so there are environments that are completely safe. The roads that you go with your regular driver's license, driving your regular 5-door car.
Yeah. Ah, okay. So it's like, so every cave that's been dived by a diver, they leave a track for other divers in a way, or markings.
Yes, we do lay lines. Well, we leave them also for ourselves. So every time we don't have to lay the line. So we lay a line, and then on the line we leave specific markings that indicate exit or exits if there's multiple. There are certain rules on how you navigate this line, how you trust the line, how you read the line. These are all things that we teach in the course. And sometimes they vary from country to country. So there are generalized rules, but like, for example, Mexico has its own rules because of how the cave systems are there, right? You're also going to find individual opinions, like cave instructors have, I'm going to only teach this way or I'm only going to teach that way. Those are finesse. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do is give a method that is capable of bringing these people to understand what they're doing, where they are, and how to come out.
And what are the lines made out of?
Usually it's a braided nylon. They're like either 24 pounds pool, or sometimes in wrecks or some caves like marine caves, they use a 36 pounds pool. When you run out of those, like Kevin and I have done, you can actually purchase masonry line. Okay. So we ran out of exploration line, and the shipment of the line has been stuck in Florida for weeks now. So we actually went to the local hardware store and bought like 20 rolls of masonry line.
And that stuff lasts for a long time in the caves?
It lasts for a long time in most caves. There's a couple of caves here on the island, especially the one that are affected by flow, like tidal flow, which reverses. It goes back and forth. So it flows out 6 hours, flows in 6 hours, flows out 6 hours, flows in 6 hours, which are weakened by this constant change and also weakened by marine life. So you have like lines where you lay them down and then marine life will grow on them. And so might eat them or might make them sharp. There is one cave specifically that is under a polluted area where the chemicals in the water have actually disintegrated the line, like pulverized the line.
Oh, wow.
But in general, it's just, they can last years. There are some caves I'm diving where the original explorers put down the lines in 1984 and the lines are still there. And then some areas of the same cave where I had to replace the lines just because they were damaged.
Okay. I got a question in regards to, I guess, an article I'm writing or an episode I'm doing from other podcasts on natural, which we talk about weird stories and so forth. But this is about a cave system in France called the Fosse d'Yonne. And apparently they've never known where the actual fresh water source comes from, and they've had multiple divers dive it and die because they get stuck. But I'm trying to think what they've done wrong there, why they could never find the source. I guess it's not that easy.
No, it's not. I mean, I have honestly, I will have to look into the cave, but some of the issues could be extreme depth. So you have divers at extreme depth, so they only have limited time to look for things and look for cues. And honestly, I can plead ignorance, but maybe they haven't used the right tools or a flow meter. I have no idea, but it's not easy. It's not easy because you are the tunnels are not straight. The wine, they're just like a little S developed, and sometimes, depending on how the cave is formed, like one of the caves that we're currently exploring, we just found a brand new cave on this island.
Oh, cool.
You might hit a wall, so then you back away from that, and you either look right or left, and then you circumnavigate, and on the other side, there's quite a lot of caves. So it's like it's a little bit of a dance that we do during exploration, which is really cool. It makes it really satisfying when you can find what the cave is trying to tell you. I say the cave speaks to me, right? You start understanding how the cave is formed and how the cave is shaped. And then you realize that, some caves are linear, but some caves are actually placed on 3 levels. Like there is a cave that for years, I thought it was just one level, one average depth, 20, 21 meters, sometimes 18 meters. And then as I moved into the rebreather and had more time to inspect and all of that, I found a section in 16 meters, and I found the section at 30 meters. You just need to find the hole in the floor, and then all of a sudden there's like a new cave underneath the other cave. So when you look at the map, there's like lines that overlap each other because they're at different depths.
Wow.
So they're a cave on top of the other cave. So it could be all sorts of things. Could be visibility. So
yeah, I reckon it's probably a bunch of that. I've seen a cross section of the Fostione. It really does look like it goes down for 35 meters. It opens up, then it comes up a bit, then it goes down, then it comes up. Because someone's somehow drawn a cross section of it, but it just looks like the most difficult thing to navigate, and that's obviously why they have so many problems and why there's this urban legend about it. So yeah, it's very interesting. You should check it out one day if you got any time.
Sure.
Fostione. It's very interesting.
Well, the other thing you have to think, if you say France, what I can think is it's actually cold water. It's not going to be a nice warm cave. I mean,
no,
here I have.
That's true.
When the cave is cold, it's 24 degrees. And yes, on a 4-hour cave dive, I still wear a dry suit. But I mean, it is not the temperature that you might find in, Germany or Italy or France. And so hypothermia, being cold underwater, it is an extremely limiting factor for people. No matter how much stuff they wear and they can be all prepared, at a certain point, that clock is going to tick. And it's going to tick faster than a 24 degrees water.
So do you think the hypothermia would get to them before they ran out of air? Like experienced cave divers that would dive, say, the Fostione?
I don't expect experienced cave diver to run out of air. In order to run out of air, you really have to have a major emergency. Cave divers use rules on how to manage their gas. We use rules of thirds or fourth or fifth or sixth. That means sometimes when we go cave diving, we use 1/6 of our air to go in, and then the rest is to come out because, we know it's such a difficult exit. That's usually why we move to a rebreather, because then we don't have to have as much, carry as much gas for any dive. But no, what I'm trying to say is the hypothermia may limit, or the risk of hypothermia may limit the amount of time that these divers can be in the water, right?
Okay.
Where I can do a 4 to 5 hour cave dive here in the Bahamas, be completely comfortable. A 4 to 5 hour cave dive there might require, quite a lot of preparation, and only certain divers can do it. And so if you only have a limited group of divers that can do it to a certain type of cave, then it also limits the amount of time they can go and explore. Not everyone is trained or capable of going in certain caves. I mean, there's some explorers out there that are absolutely phenomenal, and they're specialized into maybe deep, cold caves. But when you have maybe 2 or 3 of those people out there specialized, and they're used into a mission, well, then it limits the amount of dives you can do per mission, for example. It could be that the caves also has a seasonal floodings, and some caves you can only go a certain time of year, for example.
Oh, it's so interesting. I'm going to have to delve into the theory of cave diving. It's just, I find it really interesting, but creepy at the same time.
You'll find You'll find that the cave divers is a bunch of absolutely analytical controlling people.
Yeah.
We're extremely focused. We're extremely analytical. We definitely have a sense of adventure, discovery, and curiosity. The positive. I mean, there's some risk takers, but like talking about the people that surround me, the people that I learn from, the people I cave dive with, is awe and discovery and curiosity. But we're extremely careful and analytical, and we just are very almost tedious in how methodical we are, how our gear has to be, how our everything has to function.
It's unbelievable. Cristina, do you remember your first dive? Do you still remember it?
Yes, I do.
And was it amazing?
Yeah.
Was it exactly? Yeah.
It was here.
It was
My
here
first
in the Bahamas.
dive, it was in the Bahamas. I traveled here to become a certified scuba diver, and the first dive, I plunged into this warm, clear ocean with 30 plus visibility and sharks swimming all around me as, like
what an introduction.
black, darkened, swarming clouds over these super colorful coral heads, and the sun rays hit the sand down at 40 feet at 12 meters. It was just absolutely, it was like being in a crystal ball. I was like floating in air, and it was like silverfish and sharks, and it was just absolutely breathtaking. It was like, wow, not only you have sharks here, but it's so beautiful. It was the decision making. That's the reason why after I became certified, I actually traveled back home, and in a week time I quit everything and came back here to continue diving.
And home is Italy, right?
Home was Italy at the time, yes. I grew up in Central Africa, in Zaire and Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo and the Republic of Congo, and then moved to Italy as a teenager. And then I came here on vacation and went back. I was 22. And like I said, in a week, I quit my job, left my boyfriend, packed my things in a duffel bag, and came back here. I worked at a hotel for about a year while I was continuing my scuba diving education into a diving professional.
Yeah.
And actually, by October, I was a dive master. By November, I moved from the hotel into the diving industry of 1994.
They got to do a film about you. That'd be amazing. Have you dived the Great Barrier Reef in Australia?
Never. The only thing I dived in Australia is the Nullarbor Desert Caves.
Oh, and the Nullarbor. Yeah, apparently that would be crazy. Amazing.
It's crazy. It's crazy outside and it's crazy inside. Those are caves where you have to hike down. Like we would just do.
Oh, wow.
I was with this very, very beautiful group of cave explorers from Australia, and they invited, was three of us foreigners that they invited, and they just tended to us like queen and kings we were. And they took us, there was Dr. Richard Harris, Craig Challenge, Ken Smith, Paul Hosey were our main hosts. And each one of them had like stuff for us in the car. And then we would basically hike through the land down to the water tables to go cave diving. And then we camped in the Nullarbor Desert for 2 weeks.
Oh my God. That'd be amazing.
That is one of the most beautiful sky. Yes, that was the most amazing sky I ever seen in my life. And Ken Smith, Dr. Ken Smith was amazing. He actually will take all the time to explain how the Aboriginal read the stars and negative spaces. And it was not just the cave diving in itself, but like watching what these guys did and the extent of the work for which they went to cave diving, and the gracious hosts that they were to the three of us. It was one of the most memorable experiences that I have in my life.
Oh, that's really nice. Do you plan on getting back to Australia one day? Maybe do the Great Barrier Reef and maybe go back to Nullarbor?
Yes, I was hoping to come back. Obviously, COVID has changed a little bit. I actually have a little dream of maybe being able to go to Christmas Island for the caves, but I know that is under permits and scientific expedition. The other thing I had the opportunity to pick from, which I didn't, was to go out with Andrew Fox, Rodney Fox's son, to do the Great Whites out of Adelaide.
Yes, off Port Lincoln, is it?
Port Lincoln, correct,
Yeah.
which is one of the richest areas of great whites. But
Yeah, there's heaps.
I had to pick between the two. I didn't have enough time to do both, so I picked the Nullarbor Desert.
Ah, got you. Well, maybe you can do Port Lincoln next time.
Hopefully, I would love to do Port Lincoln, and I would love to dive right off the piers at Adelaide because apparently you have the leafy sea dragons, and I love to.
The leafy sea dragons. Yeah, they're like, they're a cute little animal. I love them.
They're actually seahorses.
Seahorses, that's the one.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not just a big creature kind of person. I'll sit on the ocean floor watching a little silfin goby trying to stretch its fin for like an hour if I can capture it. Yeah, so hopefully I'll make it back to Australia. It was
I'm sure you will.
It is a long trip.
Yeah, it is long.
It's an expensive trip, but hopefully I will be able to make my way back there. It will be cool. There's so many places as well. There's the Ningaloo Reef as well. It's on the west side of Australia.
Yes. Apparently that's better than the Great Barrier Reef.
Yes. So, and there you have whale sharks. And so there are many options. To be honest with you, I am actually, believe it or not, I have an attraction for the desert. I've been through the Namibian desert.
Oh, wow.
I have absolute passion when I'm not in the ocean. If there's one place, people, where do you want to go? I love the desert. I absolutely love the desert.
Well, you sound like a real traveler.
I love to travel. I travel in unique ways. One of the things I travel with, when I go somewhere, I pick usually a small area. Right. Okay. So rather than go and say, okay, I'm going to visit Australia, I'm going to visit Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide, and Perth. And at the end of the day, you don't really see Australia, kind of like check a few boxes. I will pick one little corner and just sit there.
Yeah.
And spend time eating the local food, going to the local food store, maybe staying, like in a small area and absorb a little bit of that area. So I've done that even through like Vietnam or India. I picked like one area and stayed in that area for a selected amount of time. So if somebody said, "Oh, we've seen India," I'm like, "Well, actually, no, I saw Bihar."
You saw Bihar, yeah.
And I just to give me a little bit more absorption. That's how I like to travel.
I reckon that's a really good idea. I might try that next trip I go on. See if I can just absorb an area. That's really interesting.
I also don't use the phone when I travel.
Oh, you don't?
So I don't look. I don't use the phone. I buy still the guides, the books.
Oh, I love
and I read
books.
it through the books. And then one of the tricks I use.
Yeah.
But you need to like to do that. Like for me, it's you're not going to find. I'm not a bar person. I'm not a go out person. No? I don't go somewhere to find the entertainment, the zip line or anything like that. If I go to Cambodia, I want to see Cambodia.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I actually, if I read in the book, oh, this is a backpacker's favorite place, I usually go away from it.
Okay, me too.
If it says, like I remember in Vietnam, if it says, oh, there's not much in this place.
Yeah.
I actually went there and stayed there and I actually found they had they had a Buddha on the top of the mountain, a 30-meter lane Buddha sleeping in the middle of the forest on the top of the mountain.
Wow. That's cool.
Right. So that's how I travel. It's a small areas for a certain amount of time. Obviously, I travel a little bit, but I don't do just everything in one place.
That is so cool. Well, I have a couple more questions for you, and then I've got some final questions, Cristina.
Yes.
Cool. Well, I really want to know what your favorite dive spot is and why it's your favorite.
My favorite dive spot?
Your favorite dive spot? Yeah? All right. No, that's...
Right here where I am.
That's fair enough.
The dive site fidelity is one of my favorite things that I talk about, is being able to go back to the same spot and being able to observe the changes, the animals. I have an anemone that I've known for 16 years.
Really?
Yeah, I passed by the anemone. I'm like, hey, wave at the anemone. So here on the island with the caves and the ocean and the repetition that brings every day something new and something different.
Well, that's good that you see something new every day, because I could imagine that you probably never run out of seeing new stuff.
If you know how to look, you never do. You just need to leave a little bit of wonder as a child and just look for something else. One of the things I do is obviously I read. So I'll read about critters, and then when I go on the reef, I'll notice them more. And it could be sponges, it could be corals, it could be symbiosis. And then I start looking at it, and all of a sudden it's just so alive with something that maybe I didn't notice before.
That's so cool. And do you take photos of things and see how they develop?
Do that with the sharks. I have an ID collection of the sharks, and we do photogrammetry. Cool. So we do laser measurements of the sharks, and then keep a chart and notice how they change and grow through the months and the years.
And what about the coral? How's the coral there? Because that's probably a question I should ask. Is it bleached?
We've had some very good coral situation. The elkhorn is doing some comeback. The staghorn is still struggling, but we start having issues with there's a black band disease, and there's a flesh-eating disease that came from Miami and is destroying more of the hard corals, like the star coral, or, the lettuce and all of that. So we've been having some issues with corals.
Have you got any issues with the lionfish there?
So we had issues with the lionfish in the beginning, and then we were eliminating them because people were like, oh, you need to eliminate them. And then recently, in the last few years, they seems to have found almost like a balance. So if they're not removed, there's only, when they first came here and exploded, we could find 40 to 50 lionfish in a stretch of like 100 meters of reef.
Wow, okay.
Now in the same stretch, there may be 1 or 2 lionfish. And one of the things I think believed is they exploded because they had no predators, a ton of food. But like locusts, if you have too many predators and not enough food, sooner or later the will also collapse. So the food was not enough to maintain all those animals. And I think they are kind of like dwindling down. Let's not forget also that by them being here, they reproduce by doing eggs. And so maybe that also provided food for other fish.
Okay, so they weren't such a problem because they were actually creating food for other animals in a way.
Could be. In the beginning, they were an extreme problem. We were really worried. But now they seem to have found a kind of like a medium place location. I don't have data. It's no data. It's just observation of being on the reef that went from 40 to 50 lionfish to now 1 or 2. And I never see them. I can't remember the last time, like the lionfish has been removed. I have not seen it exploding in ever.
Yeah, observation is probably some of the best data though, because you're down there more than some scientists, I'm guessing. So you'd be able to see with your own eyes if it's changing the environment.
Correct. And that's what I'm saying. Mine is an observation on a day-to-day basis and how it changed.
And Cristina, what's the best way to get into diving? Say if I wanted to dive and I was thinking, I really want to start diving now that I've had this awesome conversation with Cristina. How do I do it? What should I do?
Well, there's different ways. You can learn where you are by finding a local dive store.
Yeah.
If you're landlocked, there are still dive operators that will do the training in pool and then lakes and all of that. Or you can travel to a destination and do more like a resort type of course. That depends on the person, the amount of money and time that they have available. My encouragement is, try to learn give yourself time to learn, and then use that for traveling and enjoying diving and all of that. But there's those two ways, like either travel to a destination and learn there, or learn at home and then travel to go diving for fun.
Fair enough. I might think about just getting a 30-meter license, just so when I'm on the Great Barrier Reef, I can do more than just snorkel.
Yeah, so the first license is usually 18 meters, and the second one is 30 meters. Yes.
Oh, okay. I jumped a lesson. Going straight to 30 meters. Now, Cristina, before I ask you the final question, I just wanted to know a little bit more about you being the founder of the People of the Water. Yes.
I founded that in January 2019 under suggestion of a dear friend of mine, because quite a lot of the exploration and conservation work that I do on the island, and almost all my education work was done out of my own time and out of my own pocket.
Okay.
And so they recommended to, found a nonprofit because to have a wider reach and to be able to do more work and obviously to expand. For me, the most important part is the educational part. So it was founded trying to support and involve more people into all the work that I've been doing.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good that you've set that up. So I've come to the time when I want to ask you some final questions, Cristina.
Go right ahead.
All right, cool. So I know your time is important. So if you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you like to be?
Right now?
Right now. If you had a choice, I could send you, I could just beam you somewhere. I could go, Cristina, now you're at Ningaloo.
Right now, I'm going to have to opt for Italy, see my mom and give her a big hug.
Oh, my God. That's cute. That's so cute.
I missed her. We lost Dad last year.
Yeah. Oh, sorry to hear that.
And I was barely home after the hurricane in September. And then, after Dorian, then COVID hit. And so right now, if you can beam me somewhere, beam me to Italy so I can spend some time walking along the lake, guard the lake with Mama, and give her just a big hug.
Whereabouts is your mum?
We are in the northeast, in Garda Lake, next to Verona, the city of Romeo and Juliet.
Okay. Oh, Romeo and Juliet. Oh, wow.
Yeah, Romeo and Juliet. So just
beautiful.
A little promenade along the lake with Mama.
Cute. I reckon that'd be amazing.
But if I had to pick a place for diving, you can beam me to... Yep. Man, that's a tough one because I don't really have a bucket list. Do you know that? I don't keep a bucket list. I don't have a specific place.
What about Port Lincoln? Could
Port
I beam
Lincoln,
you there?
Yeah, beam me to Port Lincoln. Sounds good.
And I'm guessing if you could eat anything or drink anything in the world that you've tried, what would you like to eat right now or drink?
Oh, wow. Some of the spicy food from India were just like they're mixed. They do these mixed vegetables with all sorts of like little seeds in it, and you just like put it on a bread, but like the spices and they had like this bitter tastes and all of that.
Beautiful.
If I could eat that right now, that would be something I would like. And then I would like to have some of the ginger and honey candies made in Vietnam. But I mean, proper ginger. It went through your nose, made you feel like a dragon.
It'd probably be good for me because I'm always stuffed up. So maybe that would be great.
That would be two of the foods that right now I would love to have again.
Yum. And do you have a favorite country or city in the world?
A favorite country or city in the world? I have a soft spot, believe it or not, for New York, just for a city to visit every once in a while, because it's the polar opposite of where I live and what I do. It's not a place I would love to live, but every once in a while, I just, for whatever reason, like that. But my favorite country is the Bahamas. The Bahamas, they're one of the most beautiful countries with some of the most pristine areas and with the colors, the saturated colors, and the people of this country. So I would say that's my favorite country.
I've got to get to the Bahamas. You've sold it for me. I really want to get there. I want to help out too if I'm there. It would be amazing.
If you do the Bahamas, I ask you one thing. Don't go to Nassau. Nassau is not the Bahamas. The Bahamas are all these little islands and keys. Not to discredit Nassau, but that's a big city in a small island. There's, the Auckland Islands and Eleuthera and Abaco and even Grand Bahama going east or going west, or Andros, and just really go to the outer islands. They're called the Family Islands, and enjoy that. Then you'll find the true Bahamas in colors, like I said, in life and in people.
I'll come and see you at Grand Bahama Island.
That will be great.
Awesome. And final question before I let you go, and I thank you so much. What country or city has surprised you the most when you've been traveling?
What countries or city has surprised us the most?
Yeah, either or.
I'm just trying. I'm trying to think.
That's cool.
Because like I do quite a lot of homework before I go. I would say, in a certain way, Adelaide was a little bit.
Adelaide.
Yeah, it was
awesome.
just like I didn't expect. It was just it's kind of like a little living room city.
Yeah, that's true. It's a city of churches. That's
Yeah,
its
but it
nickname.
has a little living room feeling,
Yeah, it
like your own.
does.
It's not. It is.
Small.
It just does. It's not explode city type of thing. But I don't know. You catch me by surprise by that one. But like with most of the places, I don't really have expectations when I go somewhere.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Right. And by not having expectations, then I don't have either, like delusions, but I also, maybe I don't have like such big surprises. I just try to embrace whatever the place I'm in and what it has to offer. Maybe, I can talk about things like one of the things I hated, for example, about India was it's just the noise, the honking on the roads is just absolutely insane. Oh, it's insane.
I've never
absolutely insane. They just constantly honk. They
really?
honk to overtake you. They honk when they overtake you. They honk because they're stuck in a jam traffic and they just honk.
Sounds like they're just trying to be annoying.
Right, but coming off an island, right, where it's quiet at night, I landed in India, and it was just, it was insane. It never ended. It was worse than New York. It was worse than New York City.
Gee, did you do any diving in India? Is that why you went there?
No, it was strictly backpacking, travel by train or by bus, which I recommend only to the ones with a strong stomach and have done one of these countries before.
You didn't get sick there, did you?
No, I don't get sick. I grew up in the Congo. I mean,
true.
We were eating and drinking on the street. There's two of us, and I don't get sick. I never got sick in any of those countries. But India is a tough one. India is the one that I recommend people, if they don't go with there's a lot of people go to India and hire the driver with the car. But we went using trains and local buses.
Unbelievable. So cool. Christina, I would just like to say thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I've really loved the conversation.
Thank you, Ben.
Is there any way, if people want to contact you, what's the best way to contact you?
The best way is, through my website. Yep. If they go on CristinaZenato.com, just remember to write Cristina without an H.
Okay.
CristinaZenato.com. And that through there, the contact back comes straight into my email. So I would say the best one. And then the social media links are all Cristina Zenato, so I don't have weird names out there.
Okay. Yeah, I've just added you this morning.
So I just saw that when I opened the iPhone.
Thank you, Cristina. And stay in contact.
Yes, I would love to, please.
Awesome.